How much is too rich and too powerful? It's not just a question for Musk, Soros, Zuckerberg and Goldman Sachs. Companies such as the British East India Company have influenced government policy for centuries. So, global corporations, too much power, too little responsibility. Join me, Jan Darash, for How We Got Here.
In a globalised world where transnational entities, gargantuan corporations and shadowy cabals enjoy ever greater influence, the question arises, do nation-states matter any longer? Or are they but squares while daredevil CEOs are the real players moving the pieces around? Money is power. So let's zoom in on the issue through the lens of finance. Take BlackRock Incorporated, an American multinational investment company, which is the world's largest assets manager. Its value shows what an enormous influence the company has on its clients, that include international corporations, banks and governments. Also, the value of assets managed by BlackRock trumps the GDP of many countries, including Poland. While this is a bit of an apples to oranges comparison, corporations like SpaceX or Blue Origin have proved capable of pulling off feats that most of the countries on this planet have not had the means to accomplish. As high-achieving as Elon Musk is, his business empire is not the first to shoot for out-of-this-world goals. It is December the 31st, 1600, England. Queen Elizabeth I has just granted her charter to a group headed by Lord Mayor of London, Stephen Soham. Thus, East India Company, a private venture very much like Musk's SpaceX, was born. Ever since James Lancaster commanded the first East India Company voyage in 1601, the company grew in power over the next 2 centuries, dominating trade in the East Indies and East Asia. Like Musk's company, the EIC was profit-driven with global ambitions. It pioneered advancements in shipbuilding and navigation. SpaceX has enjoyed the spotlight thanks to its innovations in aerospace technology, including reusable rockets, the Falcon 9, and plans for Starship, a spacecraft intended for missions to Mars. But most importantly, both companies at different points in time went beyond being mere commercial entities. The East India Company transformed into a quasi-governmental organization with its own army totaling about 260,000 soldiers, twice the size of the British Empire at certain times. While SpaceX is becoming a central player in shaping the future of space exploration and regulation, Musk's other company, X, has played a pivotal role in Donald Trump's re-election, thus influencing the course of global political events. Still, there's a major difference between the two. While Musk's empire continues to thrive, the East India Company was undone by corruption and inefficient administration. Emblematic of the company's decay was the case of Robert Clive, the first British governor of the Bengal Presidency, who made a fortune extorting substantial sums of money from Indian rulers during his time in office. The company waged a war of narcotic addiction with China by monopolizing the production of opium in India and exporting it to China. This devastated China socially and economically, leading to the Opium Wars and the eventual colonialization of Hong Kong by the British. Greed had no limits within the EIC, as evidenced by heavy taxation of local Indian farmers and traders. The result was widespread poverty and starvation. Local populations in the EIC-controlled lands were forced to break their backs, labouring for British agriculture and infrastructure projects. The company drafted Indian soldiers, or sepoys, who constituted the bulk of its military. SpaceX, as well as other similar mega-corporations, are unlikely to share the EIC's fate, for the simple fact that they do not entertain imperialistic ambitions. However, mismanagement has been the cause of demise of many modern companies, including Lehman Brothers in 2008. And while future reading and tarot cards seems to be an iffy venture, a one-word piece of advice that modern financial giants should take to heart would be oversight.
I'm delighted today to be joined by Professor Witold Wilinski from the Warsaw School of Economics. Welcome to the programme.
Good afternoon.
We're going to be discussing today about the relationship between elected authority, or even unelected authority, political authority, and a large corporation or a large figure, an individual figure. So we have in mind Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, George Soros, all these mega rich people. But we're going to go back in time and to discuss this particular nexus and the relationship between a private organisation and a state is old, isn't it? East India Company. You mentioned the Hanseatic League.
Yes, in the past.
Yes, give us an outline of what.
In the past, in the Middle Ages or in the 16th century, we had a lot of examples of organizations that were completely independent of the state, like the Hanseatic League, like the Teuton Order, like the Malta Order. And in the 16th, 17th, and the 18th century, the East India Company from UK, and a similar company from Netherlands, the Dutch East Indian Company. And of course, the question is why these organizations were more effective than governments. That's the main question. And of course, we can try to compare the situation that we had during the past with the situation that we have now, with the influence of Elon Musk, with the influence of Mark Zuckerberg or George Soros to the society. On a general point, you have this idea about the free market, the level playing field, regulation. Is the reality of a global corporation or a hugely rich individual who meddles in politics, is that an aberration of pure economic theory and practice, or is it just something we have to accept? This question is very important because the situation that we have now, this is the situation when companies like Facebook, like Instagram, they have a lot of informations about the society, and they are able to control the society. And when we add to this the AI, without regulations, we can obtain a similar situation that is now in China, which means that the government can control the society in a kind of full scale. And this is the main danger, in my opinion. So when we have private organizations or private societies that can influence the society, the thing which is the more important, this is the governmental control and governmental regulations in United States, in European Union, etc., etc.
Yeah. The relationship between if we can describe it as a partnership, is it a partnership of equals or unequals? In the East India Company example, the British East India Company, it seemed very much that they were leading the UK government in foreign policy, in India, in the colonial policy. Is this a feature of the overmighty company or individual who they may have responsibility, but they don't have power, and they just are more efficient in deploying their resources to achieve their ends? They don't have to worry about.
I think that here we have two issues. The first one is related to the fact that in some cases the government do not want to take the risk. and it was the case of the East Indian Company. This is the case of the Wagner Group in Africa.
Yes.
This is the case of the French Foreign Legion. So in some cases, government cannot take directly the risk, and they prefer to use a private organization. And this is the first point. The second point is related to the fact that in some cases, private organizations are more effective from the point of view of the management, from the point of view of the cost effectiveness. And this type of better management we saw during the Middle Ages in the case of the Teuton Order, in the case of the Malton Order, and these organizations were more effective than the average government held by the king.
Yes, I mean that's the crucial thing we have to pay attention to, isn't it? The weakness of the state and the powerfulness of the individual organization. The Teutonic Order, as you mentioned, actually became the state. You could say it became Prussia.
Became the state and was present in this part of Europe during 400 years. Yes? But it was a kind of the change of the Teutonic order to the Prussian state was a kind of privatization. The next step of the privatization of the Teutonic Order.
Yes, it was a logical move
because of the Reformation and
Yes, but also by the same token, its rival order, the Templars, very rich, great banking order, they were destroyed by the French monarchy. So the relationship...
Yes, because in one moment the power of the Templars was higher than the power of the French government, the French monarchy.
Is that something that, going forward again to the relationship between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, you saw that this is going to be a partnership of equals, they're not going to be rivals, but ultimately history says that there's always going to come to some sort of conflict. East India Company wasn't very good at managing the mutiny in India, and it was nationalized by the British. The Templar Order was destroyed by the French monarchy. The Hanseatic League seem to...
Yes, but the example that you gave now, those are examples from a larger periods. I mean 200 of years, 300 of years, 300 years, 200 years. And in this case, the relation between Musk and Trump, it will be only 4 years. So I think that the conflict will not appear, and analyzing the Trump foreign policy with the Elon Musk tendencies that we can observe related to the foreign policy, they are similar. So I cannot see, and they are both related with the American expansion. So I do not see any potential conflicts at this moment.
Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos from Amazon, Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, Meta, they've all gone to President Trump to bend the knee and to pay homage to real power. For the moment, real power lies with the elected authority. Would you say?
It depends on the system that we have, because the system in the United States, the democratic system in the United States that we have, is a system when the relation of the business and the government is very high. And this is the consequence of the way of the financement of political parties in United States, which is completely different than in Europe. Because in United States, a corporation can directly finance a political party. For example, in Poland, this is not possible. And this relation is creating a very good relation in terms of business development in the international areas, because the president of United States is representing the U.S. business.
Yes.
Yeah.
How does that leave us as ordinary citizens? Do we live in a corporate age? Do we need countries anymore? Can't we just have the United States of Amazon, for example? Do we need political power? We've got all we want from a corporate company. And so
yes, of course, we need countries. Even in European Union, we know that, for example, what is good for Spain is perhaps not good for Sweden. What is good for Poland perhaps is not good for Germany. So we need countries, and we need to protect our national aims, our national security and economy.
But if a multinational private company may not have those similar aims in foreign policy, for example, so they can move around the world taking advantage of lower costs. Mexico, for example, from America, in China, and they don't really need the presence of a national government, or they only need the presence of a national government to give them tax breaks or some sort of favourable conditions.
It's not so easy because from the point of view, for example, of OECD countries, 2 years ago, OECD countries started to introduce a tax for all corporations at the minimum level of 15%. So I think that the big corporations are trying to influence governments. Of course, they are independent, and the activity is much easier in smaller countries and poorer countries like African, South American, and the influence of an average American corporation with a very high valuation is huge, because the annual budget of such corporation is higher than the budget of an average country. This is not equivalent.
Yeah, money talks in the end. We could go on and on about the relationships between private and public. It's a fascinating topic. For the time being, Professor Wilinski, thank you for coming on to the programme.
Thank you.
That's all we have time for today. Join us again Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 2:15 CET. See you then.